Greetings from Surfview Gardens. It's January 2018 and today is wood chip placement and inoculation day. And if you've been following, we've been putting in our Hugelkultur over here, which is really more like a hugel pit. And basically the idea is that we were going to get a bunch of wood chips and put them in place. And we did get a bunch of wood chips. If you look over there, you'll see that we got a bunch. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to take this blue tarp here. We're going to move a bunch of wood chips from here. And these right here are a combination of ironwood, mesquite, and palo verde. I'm told there's no oleander in here. And so a lot of them are going to go over here for my around my broccoli and my onions and my rosemary. And then I put a little bit in place just to tease you with the idea of what's going to happen. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to put down the wood chips, cover this, and put a layer here. Got quite a bit, but I have a feeling that's going to go pretty fast. And then I'm going to inoculate it. And I'm going to do something that I haven't seen done much. But basically I'm going to take these pots here that are where they didn't take off with my clippings. Some of these worked out all right. The moringa is growing nicely there. Seeing a little bit of growth there. And of course there. But these are pretty much void of life. And there's a little bit of rosemary there. But I'm going to basically take these, the dirt, and then after I put down a layer of wood chips, I'm going to put down that raised bed soil. Call that my inoculant. And then I'm going to put down some sugar for the bacteria, and then some olive oil. And I'm going to mix the olive oil. I've got over here, I've got a bunch of alfalfa pellets that I soaked overnight. And as you can see, there's a lot of them in there. But I'll mix that up with the oil, and then we'll put that there. And I'm told that fungi really like lipids. And with my small mind, lipids and oils are pretty close in concept. So that's what we're going to do today. So stay tuned. I just noticed something kind of strange. This pile here has been here just a few days, but it's already smoking. I don't know if you can see this. But, and I put my hand in it, and it's pretty warm. It's producing steam. Maybe you can't see that, I don't know, but that's pretty wild. So this stuff is really anxious to decompose, and it's a good thing I'm going to be distributing it today. All right, back to work. What's cool about this method is that I don't have to even lift the shovel. And well, all I do is just rake it from that pile there onto here, and then pull the cord. By the way, the reason why I don't cut that rope is that I'd rather have a long rope later. Anything that I'll be using just for a couple days, I don't want to cut it. But again, I got the these in place, the first round, And also the tarp is good for, so I don't have to rake the gravel later. But you can see I'm starting to make loads, and probably the next time you look, we'll have this bed finished, and maybe even the other one. Okay, then we'll start the inoculation phase. All right. I forgot to mention, later on we're going to be adding olive oil, and then what we got now is we got the alfalfa pellets soaking. Just wanted to show you what they look like as they soak. And this one over here, this has been soaking for 24 hours, and it gets nice and dark. It's got molasses in there and some phosphoric acid. It's good for horses, so it's definitely good for plants. Non-GMO, of course. But later on, when I hit the hose against that and I put oil in it, we're going to see it suds up, because saponins are, you'll find them very common in things like ginseng and gynostema, jagulin, of course alfalfa. It has this, and then also four-wing saltbush. It's usually good for people. You know, of course, ginseng has a ton of saponins. But basically what it can be used for is for soap, for suds. So later on, the sudsing action, when I hit that with the hose with olive oil in it, it's going to take the oil and disperse it amongst the bubbles. And then when I inoculate it on my piles, my wood chips, it will have something to cling to rather than me just pouring oil on the ground and hoping it disperses. So that's the plan. I just thought I'd show you that it's good to do a little bit of pre-soaking of these alfalfa pellets. All right. All right. I just wanted to show you a little trick that I did with take the blue tarp. This stuff has got some strength to it. And then I put a pipe over it. And then that way when I rake, it quite nicely doesn't upset the tarp. And it makes it really easy. So I'm working on the back side first. But before we get going much more, I wanted to take the rake. Let me show you what I'm doing here. Of course, the center is going to be the hottest part. But what I have is this really cool thermometer gun. I recommend this to people. And right now, the temperature, it saves the maximum setting. But right now it's 74 is the outside temperature. And so I raked away a little bit of it. Sorry. And then you can see that it's 89. But I'm going to move more of it aside and show you how hot it can get. Once we start seeing steam, we know we're onto something. All right. 134. Can you see that? $134. I bet we can do better. I bet, because I put my hand in there, and it almost seems like it's ready to start a fire. Well, I guess it's cooling off fast. So that was the best, 134. And I think if you go down deeper, of course, it'd be hotter. And this was only sitting for a few days. So I can imagine what it would be like if it had been for longer. All right, back to work. All right. Today, this is Phoenix, January 20th, 2018. We've got some wonderful chemtrails being painted. You can see the Disperse in the sky and the big stripes that some knucklehead pilot is putting down. But look at this. That's not condensation from a contrail. That's dispersant. So they lay down the stripe, and then over a period of time, you can see how it all just kind of blows away, like pouring white latex paint on a pond or a lake. It'll eventually cover the whole thing and make it murky. But you have to wonder how much they're paying of that pilot there to be polluting our skies like this. Look at that big old stripe. And that's not disappearing. It's dispersing, but it's not. Now that right there could be a contrail, because look at that one right there. That's making like bubbles on a lake, but the bubbles go away. This other one is like pouring latex paint out of the back of a boat and watching the whole lake get murky. So that one there could very well be a contrail. They might do that every once in a while just to goof people up. But you can see how the stripes are dispersing. It's a perfect example today. And we need to find a place where we don't get this crap. There's one from earlier. All right, back to the show. The pile has been reduced. I don't know if you can tell. It's more room to walk now. But I put everything in. I put the first layer in place, and I wetted it down. And now what I'm going to do is I've got these pails of mulch, raised bed soil. I had some potted plants that weren't doing well, some big ones. So I'm going to disperse that and use that as part of the inoculant. Instead of using compost tea, I'm going to spread this around. Then I'm going to put sugar on it, and I'm also going to put alfalfa pellet tea with oil, with olive oil, so that it'll give something for the fungi to eat. And that's the plan. So the next step you'll see is that I will have distributed all of this dirt, this inoculant. But you see, after wetting it down, there's still quite a bit of green in there. So if you spread wood chips quick enough, you still got nitrogen in the soil. But right now I'm trying to put a little bit of dirt and microbes with it, and hopefully the sugars and the oil, the lipids, will get all of that moving along nicely. Okay, so next step will be dirt all over this. All right, we're making progress. If you look behind me, you will see that I have spread out the first about 7 or 8 inches of wood chips. I wetted it down, and then I put sporadically little piles of raised bed potting soil that hopefully has a lot of microbes, bacteria, fungi. It's the seeds for what I'm going to be putting in next. So then I wetted it down again. And so here is the concept next. and this is going to be very controversial. We got 15 pounds of sugar, and also a bunch of olive oil that got kind of rancid in my house. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix that, and I'll explain that more when we get to that section. But basically, these are the next two items. I'm going to be putting on the sugar first so it doesn't mess up my plastic container. I'll spread that, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how I mix the extra virgin oil with the soaking alfalfa pellets. And the reason why the alfalfa pellets is because the saponins are going to suds up, and it's going to help disperse the oil better. At least that's the hope. And then I got rid of all of the soil that was in those two big things that weren't growing well. And I transplanted anything that had any tiny bit of green to it. That's looking pretty pathetic, but there's some rosemary in there and a couple attempts at moringa. Some of these other moringas are doing a lot better. Well, that's the next step, is dispersing the sugar. All right, the sugar has been dispersed. Not really evenly, but as much as possible on a windy day. I have about a third of a bag left, so of the 15 pounds, I've got about 5 pounds left. And of course, I'm going to be doing other stuff to this now. But basically, I'm going to be doing the oil part now. Oil and olive oil, and also this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the oil in there, and then I'm going to hit it with the hose. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what the suds look like in a few minutes. All right, so I just dispersed the olive oil, and I put about half a cup, maybe a third of a cup in each of the 5-gallon buckets. And I had the alfalfa pellet stuff in there. So you can see it suds up pretty nicely, and it mixes it up with the alfalfa pellets. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put 3 of these on each one of my 15, 16 foot areas. So basically about every 4 blocks we'll get 1 bucket. And of course that's going to go right on top of the sugar that I put down. And then I'm going to soak some more pellets for a while, and then come back and do this other side, because it takes a while for those pellets to dissolve. I'll go do something else and come back. But right now I'm going to disperse the alfalfa pellets, and then I'll come back in a little while. Okay? But here's what it looks like. Doesn't that look cool? See the bubbles? That's the saponins working with the oil. So that'll disperse it a lot better. All right. A little bit of work has been done. As you can see, the bed is looking completely damp. Here's the alfalfa sprouts. The alfalfa sprout tea, alfalfa pellet tea, and then I've dispersed the inoculate raised bed compost stuff, and then of course there's the wood chips just sneaking through because I didn't put a ton of it, I just wanted to inoculate it. There's a pile from the empty bucket that didn't mix that well, but you can see there's a lot of nitrogen all around here. And the sugar is all, I hit it with the hose, So that's all dissolved, or at least melted into the soil there. So that's the story. So the next step is to cover all of this with the pile. And I think I'll have plenty, and even some for the front yard. So that's the next step, is to do all that. But I'm pretty happy with it so far. As you can see, it's looking pretty good. And then with all of that stuff from over here, the wood chips, we're going to see it a lot higher. And it's also going to cover up any of the exposed stuff that flies like. And as you can see over here, this is the area that I did with my regular vegetables, broccoli and such. And I'll probably hit that with the hose before I end today. I saturated the soil the day before, so maybe I'll wait a day or two. But it's good because that'll prevent when the sun starts hitting in spring. We haven't really gone past 80 this winter, but once we start getting 90, 95, having this protective cover on it will really help from the moisture from evaporating. All right, so that's the next step, is to get a lot of this in place. All right, we'll see you in a little bit. All right. It's the end of a long day. But guess what? Look at that dinky little pile over there. Oh, a little hummingbird. Can you see the little hummingbird? That's the end of my big pile. And this is what we did. We covered, we showed you that already. But look at this. That was a long journey to do these Hugelkulturs. This is the one from April, finally topped off with wood chips. This is the one from this year, end of December, beginning of January. And you can see that the berm, what I'm calling the raised bed border, is flush with the wood chips. And I am going to water this down and then call it a day. Put some stuff away. But you'll see it in future videos. You know what it looks like to water it, but isn't that cool? So now you can see why I had the berm as high as it did. And of course, a lot of those wood chips will die back. They'll crunch down. Next year I'll add more, or add topsoil. There's a lot of games to play once you have something that looks like soil. But that's it for now. I'm rather proud of myself for putting in this long effort. But that's a wrap. We're all done here, except for putting stuff away and watering. So we'll see you next video. If you like it, do a thumbs up. If you really like it, share it with somebody. And watch my other videos. I've got a lot of other different ones. Or at least I will soon. Take it easy.